by Bet Rivers. We got ourselves Randolph Childress in the house, Jim Root on Meghan McKeown. Gentlemen, how we doing this Friday night?
I'm good. I'm freezing. I'm a little cold. I'm in Syracuse, but I'm good. Let's do it.
Yeah, we need to get you a parka, I believe,
Yeah,
up there.
yeah,
Is it
yeah.
snowing?
It was. It stopped. I think they got about, they say 9 inches. I don't know how many they got, but it's enough.
That's too many. All I hear is too many there, RC.
Yeah.
More than one is too many, but I'm good. I'm ready to rock too. My After Dark debut this season. They tried to blackball me. Nope, I'm back. I'm ready to rock. Let's do this.
I mean, no one could hold you down. My goodness. No one could root Jim Root, that is. Excited to have you back, though, and have you rocking and rolling with us.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, by the way, can we just talk about how behind Jim Root's shoulder, we got a lot of different teams featured. I just want to know who you're going to commit the most loyalty to.
It's the Bucks. It's not even college. It's the Bucks. Diehard Giannis guy here. And they're actually playing well, unlike Mizzou just getting slaughtered by Kansas. So I got to ride with the Bucks. Got the pennant, the book, the Fear the Deer sign.
You mean they're playing well tonight, not that 50, 40 point smacking they got last night, right? You're not talking about that one. We're gonna forget about that.
Yeah, I don't remember what that.
You don't remember that? Don't worry. You don't
it's a schedule loss. It's a schedule loss, RC.
Details. Gentlemen, before we really get rocking tonight, let's do our toast of the night, where we go around and toast one thing that we just want to give a shout out to around college basketball. RC, you can go first.
I'm going to make a toast to Lewis Orr. We lost a great man, a great coach, great mentor, great father, husband. I mean, we just lost a great man, and just toasting him and his family and everyone that he touched.
Yeah, like that one.
Cheers to that.
Jim, what you got?
I don't like following that, but I'll cheers to Xavier. Sean Miller back. No infractions on his record, and he's got his first Big East win back at Xavier. Happy to cheers to him. Georgetown's another story, but we'll keep this about Xavier. Cheers to Sean Miller and the Muskies.
One a similar vein, I'm going to cheers to Soleil Boom, because it's a night that he had for Xavier. He hit 6 threes. And if there's one thing I love, it's when someone's shooting the ball well from beyond the arc. So cheers to him. We're going to get into that quite a bit on the show. So let's start there. Xavier, Georgetown. I mean, Georgetown has really struggled, to say the least. I think that's a nice way of putting it. Has not won a Power 5 game in a long time. Xavier came out tonight, though. This game wasn't a blowout by any means, but it was kind of within distance. But, I mean, RC, what was your biggest takeaway from Xavier's performance? We'll start there.
I mean, they scored 102 points, right? I mean, they did everything they needed to do offensively. I don't know if that says more about them or says more about Georgetown. Now,
they gave up 89.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So,
yeah,
Georgetown guard play is good, but I think defensively they're to be had. They're going to struggle stopping people, and they did stop Xavier. I don't know if we learned much about Xavier, other than I do believe this team will be better in the Big East than I think people predicted they would. I like their balance. I mean, they got 5 guys averaging double figures, and that's hard to imagine. So that gives you leeway when one guy has an off night. And tonight, everybody was going. They shot 60-something percent, 69%, I think, in the second half. That'll win you a lot of games. And again, it's hard to learn that because they also gave up over 50% as well. So, like Sean said it after the game, after his interview, talked about how they need to work on defensive effort. I think he's going to get after them. They'll improve on that, but offensively, they're going to get some people.
Yeah, I think he's probably excited about a bad defensive performance and a win because he gets to get on him about it.
Right.
The balance is impressive. Boom, locking down the point guard spot. It was huge. I think coming into this year, we saw them run to the NIT championship last year. It was like, all right, front court's pretty settled to Fremantle and Nunji. They got a bunch of wings, guys that they can figure out there. Colby Jones emerging as a star. But it's like, do they have the point guard? Is it going to be Claude the freshman? Is Boom going to settle that after coming in from UTEP? And he's like all Big East caliber now, 17 and 4 per game. He's efficient. He kind of controls the game. Like late when they're up 10, they just gave it to him. He dribbled around for a while, ended up creating himself a good shot. They feel very comfortable when he has the ball. And that's important for a team that was a question mark now that it's completely answered.
Well, it's interesting to me too, and RC, you spoke to the balance, 27 assists off of 41 made shots tonight. I mean, you're RC, you gotta love hearing that if you're a coach.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell it's their DNA and how they play and how Sean wants them to play. I think you just see it, the sharing the ball, different guy every night. Obviously, Boom's he's solidified that point guard spot. We had question marks about that coming in. I think we can lay those concerns to bed. I think he's taken that and run with it. He's settled the team down tonight, even when Georgetown tried to make a run. He went on a personal 5-0 run, 8-0 run, get him right back, put the lead back up in double digits, and they just cruised away. I think for teams that struggle the way they do in the Big East, I think they're going to be a team that we're going to look up come February and be like, damn, I didn't know Xavier was going to be this good. I think they'll be there in the end.
I have a hard time not making this about Georgetown because I think they're really easy to play against right now. And a lot of offenses are going to look good. At some point, the color commentator said, Xavier's going to get everything they want. It's just whether they make the shot or not. And that they made a lot of shots tonight. They shot over 50% from three, but they're not stressed when they're taking it. It's like every finishing of a possession is an open shot or like what they wanted in the post. Georgetown just makes it kind of easy on you. So I'm excited about the Xavier offense, but I think a lot of offenses are going to look good against Georgetown.
I'll say this to you guys. I was saying this when I watched the game. I was shocked that they even played the game. I mean, we started the program. I made the toast to Louis Orr. He has been a part of that program the last 6 years. So I was shocked, maybe that's just me, just being emotional about it. But I was just thinking that I know Patrick Ewing is not always there tonight. And you can say whatever you want about different games, but I know that was like his first hire before anybody even thought about hiring anybody else with him. I mean, I know their relationship and what Louis Orr meant to him. And for him to come out tonight and coach, I honestly was just shocked that they were even there. I know those guys played with a heavy heart, and I know they'd want to win that game for him. It's just that I couldn't imagine what everybody on that team and wore that uniform was just thinking about today.
That's a good point, RC, because, at the end of the day, this is it's a tight-knit group family program.
Right.
I mean, and it is something that weighs heavy on you, especially when you're together with that family fighting every single day in these games.
There's not a player or coach on that team that he hadn't had a relationship with for an extended period of time. I mean, he's been there for 6 years. I don't care if it's a super senior transfer, like everybody. So we know how bad Georgetown has been and has played and as inconsistent they've been. And I just thought, just speaking on today, aside from Xavier, that was just a tough deal to play. I just thought that there would have been more consideration of maybe postponing the game or something like that. I was just really surprised that they had to play this game, to be honest. I just think that's something else that most people don't think about. Because when you look at their schedule, I don't know when they're going to win another game. I mean, I'll ask you guys this. At UConn, at DePaul, Butler, and stop me when you think there's a win. I'll start again. At UConn, at DePaul, Butler, a healthier Villanova, at Marquette, Seton Hall, Villanova, Xavier.
Nope.
Oh, in case y'all didn't hear me, I said stop me if you thought it was going to.
I'm not stopping you.
Well, here's the thing. I'm curious to see. I think if you catch DePaul on a bad night and Georgetown's playing well, I think you might have a shot to make that an interesting game. But to your point, there's nowhere where you're like, that's a win.
Yep.
There's nowhere.
And if that game was at home, I would have been like, yeah, they're going to get them. At DePaul, and DePaul's playing better, I can't say that that's a win. And you're talking about all they're going to hear about is that 0-20 again from last year in conference play, and then they add on that tonight. And that's just going to build and build and build. And you don't want to get into February still hearing that noise.
Well, and to that point, I mean, Jeff Goodman tweeted out tonight, Georgetown's the last 26 high major games, and they've lost all 26 of them.
Yeah. I'm surprised he had enough characters to fit all the teams on there.
I mean, I'm looking at it. He somehow did. He had to shorten a couple of them. South Carolina, South Car, period. But to that point, I mean, Jim, you look at that, it's hard not to focus on that and have that be the narrative of this Georgetown team.
Yeah, I think Louisville had a little bit of that where they hadn't won a game all season, and I think that was starting to wear on them, and they got one and maybe that gets them going a little bit. They've got a winnable game this Saturday too. But yeah, as soon as Georgetown gets one, I think maybe they'll get 3 or 4 because there's talent there. RC mentioned it, that backcourt is really, really good. Sean Miller talked about how hard they are to guard. They average like 50 a game among that trio, and they should be better defensively. They've got a couple big guys, Cook and Wahab should be pretty intimidating at the rim. They're just not. So there probably is some mentality to it right now of, oh, here we go again. And once maybe they get over that hurdle, perhaps they can win a couple. Is that crazy to say, RC, or am I reading too much?
No. But I think part of the problem is I think their guards are strong on the offensive end. I worry about them defensively, and their front line is just staying in foul trouble. They're getting to the rim. It's hard for the big to defend the rim if they get straight line drives, and there's just not a lot of resistance on the perimeter, and everybody's getting downhill. And I think their bigs are in foul trouble too much, and the guards at that point, they just play too much ISO ball. They get down. Now they're out of the game, and then the guards just have to play ISO ball. Then the ball doesn't move. We just talked about how, we just talked about Xavier and sharing the ball and how many assists they had, and that's the complete opposite of Georgetown.
I wrote something relatively mean about Georgetown's defense, but they their guards defend with a lot of like, "Mom, do I have to?" energy. It's like doing a chore or something. Like, I have to go around the screen. Are you kidding me? And that's why the big men are in foul trouble, because there's downhill drives happening all the time.
Yeah.
I love that. First off, I'm gonna steal that.
Too. I am too. I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna give you credit for it when I use it, though, but I'm gonna write that down.
I'll take it.
That's why we bring you on after dark. So you can hit us with some statements, and RC and I can have better material when we
there you go.
I'll try. You give me Georgetown, I got stuff to talk about.
Material. Give them the Hoyas. Let's stay in the Big East. Creighton Marquette still going on. About 8 minutes to go. Marquette's up 62-47. Guys, I'm really excited about this Marquette team. I think they play well together. They've gelled quickly. I think Shaka Smart makes really good decisions regarding lineups and whatnot, and just the flow of the game. And they're kind of starting to pick up some steam right now, especially with conference play starting, Jim.
Yeah, they've looked good all year, and even the loss at Purdue continues to age really well. They hung in that game. Purdue kind of smashes everybody. They're an interesting case in current college hoops because they didn't really seek to add much in the portal. It was a young team that was getting older, but Shaka's letting them get older together, and he's cultivated like an attacking mindset, a big time confidence in them. They play downhill on both ends of the floor, and that makes them difficult to play against. Like, every guy has gotten better. RC, you go down the roster and it's like Cam Jones, Kolek, Iguodaro, every single guy is so much better than they were last year. They look very comfortably a tournament team and well above that. I don't know if they can threaten UConn to win the title in the Big East, but they're right there for number 2 right after that.
I don't know if Creighton's going to win another game until Copeland gets back.
Yeah.
That's a team. When I saw that team in Maui, I thought they were going to be the best team in the Big East. And until he gets back, I just don't think they got enough. King is, the freshman is doing a solid job, but having him in a reserve role helps that team so much. They just can't replace him. And until Brenner gets back, I mean, you're talking tonight headed to 6 in a row after starting out with 5-0. They started out 5-0 or 6-0 and dropped 5 straight. And I can't see them beating Marquette tonight. Marquette's going to put too much pressure on the rim. They got no resistance. Their pressure is going to bother him. And he was good against the pressure because he would catch lobs. I mean, he was shooting 76% from the floor. So when the guards got downhill, your big stepped up and helped. He just caught lobs. So we talk about him protecting the paint. He also finished well. They just got to pray he comes back. I don't know what his illness is and what's going on with him, but they won't win another game until he gets back.
Are you learning more so how valuable Calc Brenner is truly to this squad? I know you mentioned some of the things he does, but I feel like more than anything, we're learning how much they've depended on him that maybe was hidden in the past.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking Big East Defensive Player of the Year, right? I mean, so anybody would miss that caliber of guy. I just, you just can't replace that rim protection. I mean, when and they were good, they were pressuring people. They'll get after you and pressure you, and then the last piece is just, you want to go in there and challenge my big guy? Go ahead. And he's blocking shots, changing shots, and missing that has just affected their defense. And then they can't get out. They can't get out and run. They can't get out in transition. it's just a trickle down effect in so many different ways. And I don't know. I mean, I can't see him. And like I said, until he gets back, I hope he gets back soon because I don't see him winning another game. They're definitely not winning the Big East game unless they get Georgetown.
The crazy part is that like Fred King's played pretty well, the
He has
freshman,
been
but
good.
he's just Kalkbrenner is just that good. Like he's a second team All-American or something like that. He's that legit. The on-off numbers is a couple websites that have that stuff, and they're plus 30 per 100 when Kalkbrenner plays, and it drops to like plus 5 without him. Like that's a really sizable gap.
Woo! Look at the stats we're bringing out here.
I'll bring numbers. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Numbers guy, give us the data.
Yeah, it's not just dudes talk when Rob Doster's not here.
Tell him, get him.
I mean, I was gonna say, what's the percentage when we step on with our right foot, with our left? Break it down for us.
If I have it, I'll let you know. I'll look that up. But the one thing I want to mention is that part of why we were supposed to get so excited about this Creighton team is because they played Kansas tough without Kalkbrenner. That was like the big thing. It was they challenged the eventual national champion without Kalkbrenner. So I don't want to totally give them a free pass when he's not out there. Like that was supposed to be a part of it, was their sophomores were that good. But I think we're seeing how much Hawkins meant last year too. O'Connell was effective, and these young guys haven't totally figured it out without being able to rely on a veteran presence like Kalkbrenner or Hawkins last year.
18 turnovers right now, by the way, for Creighton. Just like the way they're playing it, and it goes back to, you're like, okay, Kalkbrenner, but when you have someone who's so dominant in the paint, who becomes the focal point of the scouting report for defenses, and then like you're going to have more people open on the perimeter as a result of Kalkbrenner being there, so you have a higher percentage situation where you don't have that defense right up on you. So he really does do so much besides the defensive end. Obviously, he's very missed right now. As for Marquette, what's the ceiling for this team? Like, I know RC, you mentioned, I don't know if they can compete with UConn to totally win this, but I mean, is there a scenario where maybe they can give them a run for their money here?
I think their style of play is always going to keep them in games, right? And if you turn it over, I just think they're going to need help to score a lot, is my concern. And against better guard play, if you don't, they're just one of those teams that they feed off of turning you over and speeding you up. If your guard play is solid enough and you can, or your perimeter offense in general, because some teams got bigs that bring it up. But if they're just better and you don't turn it over, then I want to see how Marquette handles that. But right now, when they can speed you up and turn you over, then you don't have a chance. They just come at you in waves. And that's what you're seeing tonight. Well, with Creighton, just like you said, it's 18 and it'll probably be over 20 before the game ends. And so I want to see when the conference play, when the scouting report comes in and everybody knows it and they're capable of doing it. And I think some teams in the Big East, as we know, they are. And then I'll go all the way in on Marquette right now. Right now, I'm not saying they're not going to be good. I'm just saying they're not going to be. I don't have them being second in the Big East, like right behind UConn. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, that's fair. The one guy I love watching for them, especially, is Kolek. I feel like I probably underestimated how good he is. Mm-hmm. He's top 10 in the country in assist rate, and he has, I called it Steve Nashian, his ability to get just like under the basket, and sometimes he'll dribble through, but yeah, he can dribble out and bend the defense. They have to turn their heads. That opens up cuts, shooters. He hits Iguodaro for that little dump off in the lane for a finish right in front of the basket constantly. He's so clever and crafty. And I don't know that we totally anticipated that out of him, but he's totally developed and become probably the best point guard in the Big East. I'm sure he and Boom are right up there in that competition, but it's close.
Underrated skill. Just an underrated skill set, like that never-ending dribble, getting deep in the paint and just waiting, reading, and that's an elite skill. Not many people have it.
And you got to stay patient when you're doing that as well. You can't get flustered at all if you're going to be doing that. So it does look like Marquette's going to run away with this one. But we're going to transition because although not a lot of games on tonight for our sake, if you're a college basketball fan, sit tight tomorrow on your couch and just get ready to wrap around because we got some fantastic games. RC, you're in Syracuse. You got Syracuse Cornell tomorrow.
I do. Should be a good one. Cornell's number one 3-point shooting team in the country as far as numbers, and we know about that Syracuse zone, so should be fun tomorrow.
All righty. Well, Jim, let's start with you. What game are you most looking forward to watching tomorrow?
I put Houston at Virginia first.
Yes.
There's plenty of them to dig into, but I went number one with this here because Houston was my number one team coming into the season. And I think if you're number one, you win this game. I know that Virginia is super solid, but Reese Beekman's banged up. He's got the hamstring thing that's been hopefully getting better during their time off. We don't know if he's going to be 100% out there tomorrow. But I think if Houston is like legitimately the number one team, the way I envision them, they go in and go into John Paul Jones and win a game that's going to be slow, grinding, two teams that love to play in the half court, pack it in defensively. I don't know, RC. I haven't figured out who's going to win, especially if Beekman's actually fully healthy. But that's the one I'm looking forward to most.
I agree. I think it's got to be. I mean, it's what, 2 versus 5, and I mean, how do you argue that? And I think the key is the question becomes with Reese Beekman: do you play him? Right? Is it worth playing him, or do you hold him out to conference play? Like if you're Virginia, Tony Bennett doesn't care about the rankings. He doesn't care if they're number 2 right now, and you got a legit team that can do some damage come March. That'll be a tough out. And it started with his ankle, and then now it's he tweaked the hamstring. So do you rest him? Because if you play, he tries to fight through this, and then you injure it. Now you miss him for a month. Now you miss the half of the ACC play. So, I mean, I don't know if he's going to play. I wonder, but I would. If my thought process would be, if he's not 100% healthy in a game like this, I don't even know if they play him.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, yeah, because you got Christmas coming up. They got one conference game before Christmas at Miami, but Bennett will play long term. I mean, he more than anyone knows what losing a key guy to injury. Like they lost to a 16th seed because DeAndre Hunter got hurt in the ACC tournament.
You can't lose, and you can't lose him. He's their best player. I mean, he's that guy, and you can't lose him. But if he does play, I don't know how you say Houston's going to. I think Houston probably needs the game more right now because of scheduling. I think everything else. I think they're from a resume standpoint. I think they need it going into March, but that's going to be a tough out. I mean, if Reese Beekman is playing tomorrow, meaning he's healthy, man, we'll look at the matchups. I mean, you got 2 generals on both teams: Kihei Clark, Jamal Sneed. I mean, you got Reese if he's healthy against Sass. I mean, Walker, Gardner. Like what? I tell you what. If we're gonna talk more specific about this game, I think my question about this game would be the bigger concern I have is the bench production for both teams.
Okay.
Like, is it is Sharp? Is Francis going to step up for Houston? And is it McNeely and Vanderplas for Virginia? Like those are the 2 guys off each team that can make a difference and tilt the needle toward their teams winning. And they're going to need them going forward, but specifically this game because they match up pretty good provided Reese Beekman's healthy.
I think I think offense gets so much talk in the game in general, but these are 2 of the best defensive teams in the country. Houston's holding teams to under 50 points a game. And a lot of that style play, I mean, these are athletic players. They're getting into passing lanes. They're averaging like 12 steals a game. So they're altering so much on that defense side of the ball. And I mean, that's the name of the game for UVA as well with the pack line defense. They really don't allow anybody to have that type of space to move and really get that type of offensive flow established. So if you love defense, like this is the game for you. And the strategy with it, when you have a really good defensive team, in my opinion, becomes that much more heightened as a result.
Yeah, the defense, they're similar but different in styles. Like Houston's not fully pack line, but they do force you to shoot over the top just because they swarm drives and post. Like both teams will post double constantly, and that's why they give up a lot of threes. The interesting thing with Houston is like there's statistical studies on how much you can control the other team's 3-point percentage. And usually it's like you can't. It's completely out of your control. But Houston is always elite at it. Their 3-point percentage defense is always top in the country because they challenge shots. They're long, they're athletic, and it's like drilled into their heads by Kelvin and Kellen Sampson. You better close out on everything. You better get a hand up on everything. And that's going to be tough for Virginia. They've been awesome shooting the ball so far this year, but they haven't faced, they've faced some good defenses. They played some tough teams. It's a tough schedule, but Houston is kind of a unique bear in the way they challenge every single shot.
Is this going to be the first team to get to 50 points?
Man,
I
it
think
feels
that's the
like
way
it.
when you always play Virginia, it's that way. Even though this team is averaging over 70 points a game, which is, people don't think of it, but this UVA team is scoring quite a bit. The only thing that concerns me about UVA, I wonder if it's legit. They're shooting as a team like 40% from three. I don't, when you look at that, like Kihei is shooting over 42, 43%. Beekman is shooting 40. He doesn't shoot like he's making like one a game, but it's enough to make you guard him. And he's shooting 47% from three. That's not known. That's not their strength. Shooting from three. Now they're taking the right shots. That's why their percentages are so high. But I wonder when a game like this, when they're so good, two really good defensive teams that's going to suffocate the paint, control the paint. I mean, it's just a lot of matchups. Like, I'm just curious. I would love to make sure Reese Beekman is healthy. Like, that's a big deal. Him on Sasser. I mean, that's a great matchup. I'd want to see all across the board with the guard play, Kie and Sneak, Jamal. But I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see. That we'll find out tomorrow at tip-off time. But I don't really believe Virginia's a 40% three-point shooting team. Not the team, because it's an identical team that played last year that couldn't throw a rock in the ocean. And now they come back one year with the same players and they freaking shoot 40% from three. So if they can sustain that, then so be it. We'll see.
I think Kevin Sweeney had a tweet today that was like, so much of Virginia's value in people's minds is the 8 threes in 8 minutes they hit against Baylor. And since then, they haven't hit more than 5 in a game. And it's like, that's more their style, is methodical. Mm-hmm. They take the shots when they're there, but they're not like a pour it on you offense like they were in that game. And so we'll see if they're able to bring that same shooting tomorrow.
But that's where I said McNeely, the freshman, and Vanderplas. That's where they come in and can tilt the numbers and make the difference up as we go forward. But again, it's a great matchup. We got a couple of them to talk about tonight, but as far as styles, there's a couple of games that we're going to talk about. The styles fit. I think this is one. 2 physical teams, 2 really good rebounding teams led by their backcourts. And we'll see, like I said, I'm curiosity which big plays best and which team gets a bench. Get your bench product.
I want to put both of you on the spot here. Who wins this game?
Houston.
Can I ask if Reese Beekman's playing? I'm going UVA. If Reese Beekman's not playing, then I'm going with Houston.
Okay,
that's fair.
Gotta specify. Game I'm really excited about, guys. Indiana, Kansas. Going to be an interesting matchup. This one and here's the thing: Indiana beat UNC earlier this year, and I think at this point everyone's kind of out on the Tar Heels with how this season has gone so far. They fall to Arizona in Vegas, neutral site, but now they're playing like a true road game against a top 10 team at Kansas. RC, how's this playing out in your mind?
I think this will be the worst game of the slate that we're talking about, in my opinion. I think Kansas handles it pretty easily.
So you're not.
I do. And it's not that they're bad. I think Kansas gets them by 10 points or so.
I'm kind of with him.
So neither of you are sold on it. So why aren't you guys sold on Indiana? Let's start from that vantage point.
They need Hood-Schifino. That's the big thing. And we don't know if he's healthy. I hate that it's the second straight game where there's a huge injury caveat, but it matters. Xavier Johnson without him is a different player because he doesn't have like a security blanket of a secondary playmaker. Trey Galloway just had a huge game against, I think it was Nebraska, but I don't trust him to do that at Fog Allen. He didn't do it in Vegas against Arizona. There's just a little too much on XJ when Hood-Schifino's not out there. You go back to last year, they were really bad when Xavier Johnson sat because they didn't have a secondary playmaker, and I think he was just a little more erratic. But when he's played with Hood-Schifino this year, he's been fantastic. So his health is pretty big, and I think he's going to be like game time decision. That's the big swing thing for me, RC.
I agree. And I was under the assumption he wasn't playing. That's why I said if he doesn't play, I think Kansas wins this going away.
Geo Baker says that Indiana's soft. So you also have that. Can't go into the fog playing soft.
Geo doing a little personal for me. I thought that was a little personal shot right there, calling him soft. I ain't going to go that far, but I just think that's a tough place to work. Yeah, he called him soft. I laughed when I saw that, but I'm not ready to call him soft. I just think that's a tough place to go in and win. And if they're not 100% healthy, I just don't believe they can go in and win.
Yeah, I'm not RC. I'm not Megan. I'm not Gio. I haven't been on a D1 court, so I'm not going to call anybody soft. I'm not going there.
I mean, you know what? You're at the YMCA. You can do whatever you want, Jim. If you want to call someone soft. If they're not drinking Miller High Life, are they really that strong anyways?
That's true. That's Miller High Life makes strong bones. That's for sure.
There you go. Sponsor. Well, we're just trying to get you a sponsorship here, Jim.
I will take it. Send me as much Miller High Life as you want. I'm saying it to you, High Life. Send it to me.
We're working on it. There you go. There you have it. All right. Hey, Alabama, Gonzaga. I mean, hello. RC, your eyes kind of lit up a little bit there. No? Have we not gotten to your most exciting game yet? Well, we have, but second one?
That was my first one. We still hadn't got to my next two. So I don't know. I think Alabama's really good. I think the world of them. I think they're as strong as any team I've seen so far, to be quite honest. I really think that they're that good. I think they're a Final Four team right now. So this will be a good test for those guys. But I see no reason for me to jump off their bandwagon. And maybe something happens later in the year. If they stay healthy, like I said, I plan on seeing them in Houston. That's just what I think about them.
They're crazy deep. Like,
oh my gosh,
Dom Welch hasn't played yet. Like a career 40% 3-point shooter on the wing from St.
Bonaventure. All over, shooting, depth, length, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Freshman coming in playing great. With obviously Brandon Miller. I mean, Quinterly just, hey coach, bring me off the bench, let him play. The culture there, again, I think right now, outside of Purdue, they've been as impressive as anybody that I've seen so far. And again, for me, I would push my money to the table seeing them in Houston, provided they're healthy.
The one team that I would add to that is UConn, the team that beat them by 15. I think they've been a little more impressive than Alabama, but like Alabama's a top 3 to 5 team maybe so far. Riley Davis just wrote something that he checked about their freshmen that are not Brandon Miller, like Noah Clowney, Jaden Bradley, how good those guys have been. I've been shocked at how fully formed they seem. Like their roles seem fairly well set for a team with a lot of young freshmen stepping in. That has really impressed me. And you mentioned Quinterly, like he's back to the role from 2 years ago when they were a 2 seed of you come in and spark things and create, but you don't have to be the guy all the time. And that I think really sets him up better for how he plays. They're awesome defensively too, like they were 2 years ago. Super impressed with Alabama. It's tough to go into Houston and win, and they did it.
Well, Alabama's battle tested too. I mean, look, they've played Michigan State, UConn, UNC, one at Houston, which that game was fantastic throughout that whole entire stretch. So for a team to start out and maybe like drop a couple, lose by 15 to UConn, but then to like turn around and be able to continue building, getting that chemistry going, putting it together. They're in fantastic shape right now for December. I mean, RC, if you're Coach Oates, you're feeling really good about where you're at right now.
He's not going to say that because he got a bunch of young guys. So he's going. I think he wanted that UConn loss to kind of let these guys know. But to see Jaden Bradley come in and be in that Houston game, he was the best player on the floor down the stretch. Mm-hmm. Like, say what you want. He was the freshman backup point guard at the time. Was the best player on the floor, making winning plays for them. And I think just the depth of that team again. He has all the motivational tools he wants, but I guarantee you he's going to bed happy at night thinking like, damn, we're pretty damn good. I know he's going to bed like, I ain't got to worry about this. Because the great thing about having dudes, he got dudes. So the great thing about having them is when one guy ain't playing, sit down. Like there's so much. Can you imagine in practices, there is no complacency because everybody's got somebody, you don't want to play, like, go sit down. There you go. And I think that's just, when you have that, there's not, and that's the difference when I said, we can talk about all these top teams. How many teams can we really say, maybe UConn, but outside of those two teams, how many teams has guys where they can be like, hey, you know what, you ain't playing, sit down. And I don't mean just do it. Coaches will do it, but they really is one of those, sit down, but sit next to me right here so I can hurry and put you back in 30 seconds in the game after I give you this fake chewing out. They got bodies. So I'm just a big fan of it.
Game.
Yeah.
It's gonna, you know how that is, man. The coach will take you out and give you that fake little cussing out, and then you're sitting right there by the third.
Yeah, they're like, I go back in.
Yeah, no, you're going right back in the game. Like you catch your breath, you ready? You go back in. I'm not talking about that.
It's like I'm disappointed in you, and you're
yeah. Come on, I gotta fake yell at you in front of everybody. Man, get back in there.
Get back in there.
We're not dealing with that.
Well, I'm just gonna go out here and say, is Nate Oates the best dressed coach in college basketball?
When he wears the plaid jacket, he is. When he wears the plaid one.
Stop it.
I love
I
the
mean,
plaid.
like the
I just
plaid.
want to know
do
how
like
many
the jacket,
blazers.
you know.
I want to know how many red blazers this man owns. That's the type of investigative reporting I want to see.
Well, it's
Jim,
an
that's
empty
your line, man. What's the analytics on that? What do you got?
Yeah, Jim, what you got for us?
If you had to guess, man, how many jackets you got?
He's got to have at least 10 of just maroon and shades of maroon and plaid, like game jackets.
Like tweeds ones too. They're nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it's a vacant throne right now with Jay Wright retired, right? The best dressed coach in the country.
I mean, Mr. GQ's gone.
It's up. Yep. It's up for negotiation right now.
He's gonna step up. On the flip side, Gonzaga coming into this game, what are you expecting? I know you guys are high on Alabama, but I mean, this can still very much be a tight race.
It won't be if they don't get the ball inside. That's the only thing I got to say about them. If we've watched them play enough against really good opponents, Alabama has the length, and we talked about the depth to bother them. If they don't get the ball inside to the big fella, then there's nothing else to talk about for long stretches. I mean, we've watched him play, and it's been with Drew Timme, he hadn't touched the ball in long stretches. And if that happens again in this game, then it'll be another L.
That's the tough part too, though. If you go inside, Alabama's interior defense is for real. Like, it's not just, okay, he's got a 6'8" guy guarding him, he can make a move on and score. He's going to go through a little bit of a war here against Bediako and Noah Clowney. Those guys have been really, really good defensively so far. But it has been kind of, as Drew Timme goes, Gonzaga goes, that they probably lose at home to Kent State if he doesn't go nuts down the stretch. They were losing late, and he kind of put the team on his back completely. They're still figuring everything out beyond him, which is weird because they only lost 2 guys from last year, but they're 2 super important ones. And they're still figuring out pecking order. That's why, I'm so impressed by Alabama. They've figured all that stuff out already. And it seems like Gonzaga is still sorting through all those issues.
Gonzaga is another team that played a tough non-conference schedule, but still is sorting out, right? But Alabama, on the flip side, has figured it out. Are they the best team in the SEC?
I thought so. I said that before. I told you I got my bags. I'm pushing my chips in on them at Houston.
He's moving to Birmingham.
If they healthy, then I've got my bags back. I'm betting on those guys. They're one of the few teams right now that just off of their depth of their team and outside everything, shooting it all. I'm betting on them.
They're probably ranked them first, but the other 2 we're going to probably talk about very shortly here with 2 of the other big time matchups that are on tomorrow's slate.
RC, can I guess your number 2 game that you're most excited about? I've got 2 in my. We don't have very many left. Is it Tennessee at Arizona?
Yeah. But you know what? It is because of the rankings and the quality of the game. But we'll go to the other one in a second. I think this one is because you're talking about the number 1 defensive team and the number 1 defensive efficiency versus the number 1 offensive efficiency team. So that's the matchup. But also their styles are the same. They're playing. We talked about this before last week, where they're playing with big. Both these teams are playing big 4 and 5. Most teams play small ball 4, not Arizona, not Tennessee. They're playing big. So the matchup itself is great. Arizona probably shoots it a little better. Like I said, the only thing that concerns me with Tennessee, they're tough as they come. They're going to rebound the crap out of it. I don't worry about them. I'm just not sold. My question mark with them is their ability to shoot. And when you play that, you have a small margin for error when you don't shoot the ball well enough from the perimeter. You don't know what you're going to get. Now, if they on those days where they shoot the 3 well, they're beating anybody. But they're a team with that grinded out style that when they don't shoot it great, they, you can look up and see them, to lose. I hate to say it that way, lose just about anybody come March, like a first round, second round surprise, even though I think they'll be a top 3 seed come March.
Well, I don't remember Rick Barnes losing early in March. That hasn't happened. Never happened.
That's my guy. You leave Rick alone, man.
He's a great coach.
I almost signed up and played for Rick, man. So I'm a fan. I'm cheering for him, but I just don't. They don't shoot it well enough.
Yeah, they've had problems with teams that zone. Have always given them a lot of issues.
Yes.
So it's tough.
Guys gonna start scheming them, and it's gonna be a problem.
Can I ask both of you a question? Having played Division I basketball, like Arizona lost at Tennessee in a really close game last year. Does that matter to Kirk Risa and Azuolas Tubelis and Umar Bal? Like, is that on their mind?
What pisses you off, right?
Hell yes.
Good.
Hell yeah. And particularly that game because I remember we were on that night and we were talking about there was some home cooking, wasn't home cooking with the officiating that game.
Yeah, yes.
We were debating that. So you best believe it's payback. There's no doubt about that. There's some payback. And you remember this because I guarantee you the coaches are reminding you of it. Everything that they did last year, telling you you're soft, telling you they kicked your butt, you can believe that they got some bulletin board material plastered on the wall showing them what happened to them a year ago.
I love hearing that. Whenever we do like handicapping games on Field 68 Best Bets, I bring that up usually. It's like, oh, this team lost to them last year. Like that matters. And I have confirmation now from people that have been there.
Yeah. Confirmed. Stamp it. Who wins this game?
Arizona for me. I think
Arizona.
The home crowd helps. And,
I think Arizona plays.
Gonna be a good one.
It's about 20. He averaging almost 20 and 10 right now. I mean, I think he's playing great. That Kirk Reese is doing. He's distributing the ball right now. He's one of the nation leader in assists. They just got a flowing offense where the ball just moves. It's just fun to watch them play. They play with pace and purpose. I think they're gonna be tough to beat in Arizona.
Kirk Reese might be my favorite point guard in the country right now to watch.
Really?
I mean, just the way he plays, the headband just takes him to a whole nother level, and that's why he goes over. But just the way he plays with that the European flair, where he's just really swaggy with it. He gets the ball to his teammates in positions to score, but he does it kind of in that flashy yet fundamental way that you kind of see overseas. I love watching him play. He's been fantastic for them.
He's always chirping, whether it's with the home crowd or at the away crowd. He's always
just a
getting
communicator.
Into it.
Just good. That's that point guard skills. That's all it is.
I will say both of the coaches raved about both of those guys because they said they felt like they both took a jump playing for the national team. Mm-hmm. And Megan, just when guys go overseas or girls, but they play on the national team, it's just they playing with grown men. So when you playing with pros and grown men, and you come back, grown men and women, and you come back and play with, you feel like mere mortals. You're like, oh man, I can do whatever I want. Mm-hmm. And I think both coaches talked about that when I spoke with their staff. They raved about both of those guys playing so much better because they lost confidence so late in the year. Last year going into the tournament, and then this year they've come back and they believe they belong. They believe they're amongst the best, and they lost a lot of NBA talent, but I think they'll be right there in the end.
Like to your point, like these are 20-year-olds playing against some 40-year-olds, like
right.
overseas. Like you're playing against literally grown men.
Grown men.
It's crazy. Carolina, Ohio State.
I'm on record right now. Carolina's going to win. I'm telling you. I heard Jeff say he was off Carolina. I'm telling y'all, Carolina's going to change it. I want to hear a conversation about. I'm this is my bet right now, Jim. I'm putting the money out there. Carolina's going to win tomorrow.
Oh my God.
Can I bet with you?
I think they're tired of hearing all this conversation. They tired of hearing all this talk about that. They couldn't play with all the pats on their back. Now everybody's back and telling them they suck. They not this, they not that. Telling, Hubert, we should have hired Wes Miller. All the conversation out there now. Carolina's going to respond tomorrow. I'm betting the house.
I'm totally agree. Like fully agree.
I'm betting the house.
I will be betting on it just to put that out there. Just confirm that. But look, Baycott's looked healthy, and I think that's been huge. That's a huge part of it. That part of that little rut they got in was Baycott wasn't healthy, didn't play at Virginia Tech. And I basically said, like, I'm not going to give up on them until they lose at home healthy. And they haven't done that yet. I know they've had some tough losses, but I think they kind of reassert themselves tomorrow against Ohio State, play them pretty big inside with Baycott. And the guards, I think, are starting to figure out moving the ball a little bit. They scored 100 against the Citadel. I think the ball movement's coming back a little bit.
I haven't seen RC get so excited, by the way.
I'm telling you.
Make that prediction.
I'm telling you, it's coming. All the negativity about it. And then to your point, though, I had the fourth loss in a row was at Virginia Tech. And even then, the shot selection of the guard play was better. They didn't have Armando. Armando didn't play that game. So they pressed, and I think they lost by 8. They were down by 18 to 20, and it got cut it to 8. But the guard play was better that game, and then it translated over to the Citadel game. I think they're starting to figure some things out. I think, like we talked about, Hubert getting those guys back, getting them in the gym, them practicing. And then, like we said, they just tired of hearing all the negativity of that, and they hear it. It's Carolina. Everybody's giving it to them. And I think this game just means more to them. I think it has to early on. Ohio State's got some wins. They played well. They've been in conference, but they've done. Carolina's been told like, what's your best win right now? What is your best win? That's all they're hearing, and they're going to have Ohio State, Michigan back to back. I think they're poised to make a statement.
Yeah. To that point, right, like you're playing against time of year too, right? You're playing this game. You're about to go into Christmas. If you can win this game, if you're Carolina. Yep. You're feeling really good coming back, heading into ACC play. And if you can just continue to build upon that, like no one's going to talk about how you started out.
No. And they need it. They need it. They need it now. We talked about it before because they don't play Michigan. They don't play Virginia Tech again. So that's out of the way. So now from a resume standpoint, they can ill afford to lose to Ohio State and Michigan. And then, I mean, it's back to being a mess. I just think it's almost like, hey, there's not a lot of must-win games this early in the year, but for a team that started out number one in the country and fell off the map as quickly as they did, this is one of the first must-win games. Like, all right, we got to take the temperature here and see where we are. And I think they're going to come out. If they're healthy, they're starting to figure it out. I think they get Ohio State.
Yeah, the number that I love, Megan, you mentioned it early with Xavier and how well they moved the ball tonight. Last year, UNC was 87th in the country in assist rate, which is like the percent of your baskets that are assisted. That's really good. 87th. Awesome. This year, they're 303rd, but they had 24 assists on 32 baskets against the Citadel. Like that's the kind of pop and ball movement that they had last year. I think they've sort of found it a little bit, kind of circled the wagons after they got buried by everybody. And now they're going to come out and like RC said, make a statement tomorrow.
What does Ohio State need to do to win on the road?
New York City, right?
Yes, in New York. Yes, in New York. It's in New York.
Yeah. That's a good one. What do you? I'm deferring to RC on this one.
No, it's not going to be an easy game for Carolina by no stretch of the imagination. Ohio State's tough,
and they've won tight games.
Yeah, they're tough. They're battle tested. I mean, that come from behind when I know it was a lucky. I wouldn't even call a lucky shot or a shot that wasn't supposed to happen against Rutgers, but they're just. Yeah. Stepping back in. They don't call that. So in the record, but in the books, it's a win. So I again, they can't get sped up. They can't turn the ball over. I think that's the biggest thing. They can't turn it over, which they haven't with the inexperienced backcourt. I mean, a young backcourt. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm curious to see how that matchup goes because, we interviewed Coach after the game and he raved about his group and. It's just one of those games about it. I just think it just means more to Carolina. It's nothing against Ohio State. Ohio State's playing better. I just think North Carolina has to have this game. It's just one of those games. They're tired of hearing all the noise, everything that's going on. It's a neutral site game. It's in New York. Fans of Carolina is going to travel there. Well, I just think it means more to them, and I think this will be a game where they kind of show you, all right, this is why we were in the national championship game a year ago and start that as they get in the conference play.
Yeah, I'm pretty on board with that. I know UNC doesn't like force a ton of turnovers statistically, but that stretch, RC, you mentioned at the end of the Virginia Tech game where they really turned it on defensively and that kind of like amped up their ball movement on offense. They got better shots after that. I think they can kind of build on that. So Ohio State needs to take care of it and avoid letting UNC get out and run because that's when I think they start to have fun and feel themselves a little bit when they're in the open floor.
And let's look out for Jalen Washington as well coming in. He just got his first basket in, and he's a talented kid, albeit 6'10", and he can shoot it. So he's going to start getting his first acclimation of, all right, you ain't getting in the Citadel. Now you're going to come in here and play against the big boys. So he's going to start getting, some of those younger guys in there to develop their bench. I think it'll be big for those guys. I mean, DeMarco Dunn broke his hand. He's out. But Trimble's been great. I think he's been really, really, played really well for those guys. So let's see who steps up on, from the Carolina bench because he's been consistently playing those guys. I think Tyler Nickel played a little bit the last game and shot it well, and we'll see how much does his minutes continue to increase. So we'll see.
Well, they need to do that because if you're going to try to make a deep run, you got to at least have some guys you can go to on the bench because you never know what's going to happen injury-wise or just in general throughout foul trouble, flow of a game, whatever that might be.
We say that, but this is the same team that we he rolled those guys all the way to the national championship last year. Like there was no bench. It was just Puff Johnson, and then y'all gonna play 38 minutes. If you tied, catch a win in the timeout. Like that's it. Like you're not coming out. Like that's
the
not,
Iron Five, right? They
But
called him
which
the
you
Iron
know what I mean?
Five.
That's what he did to him. Like
Yeah.
Puff need a break. Oh, okay. And he would just sub them out. I mean, it was literally like you rotate with those 6 guys, and that was it.
do
And
you
then
think
now
that's an
he's trying to
outlier
call.
though?
I
What
don't
they
think
did
they can do
last
that
year?
again. No, I agree. I don't think they can do that again. I think Trimble has earned enough. Trimble's played well enough to earn it. I mean, he's defending well. He's not a great shooter. DeMarco Dunn was starting to figure things out. I mean, he's got guys. I think he realized that we ran out of gas, and he's trying to play his bench early. Now, I feel as though the bench will shorten up over these next couple of weeks because I don't think they're going to go through conference play and risk losing games. Because they can. The last thing Carolina can do is get into conference play. First of all, is lose these back-to-back games. You have got to win one of these games. They cannot lose Ohio State, Michigan, and then go back into conference play. That'll be the last. If they do that, then you're talking about they'll be hard pressed to get back into like an 8th seed. They'll be similar to last year. I think if they win these games and then get in the conference play and play well, then they can creep back into maybe being a top 5 seed in the tournament.
Yep. And I'm sure every top seed's hoping for that. I wouldn't want to see Carolina as my 8 seed as a 1 seed.
Hell no. No.
Big yikes. And I wonder what your betting would look like if that were the case, Jim.
Bad.
Those lines got to go crazy. Last big matchup tomorrow, UCLA, Kentucky. I was really impressed watching UCLA against Maryland, and what's crazy as a future conference game. But to go out, I mean, look, the Bruins jumped out. I mean, they were up like 27 at the half. And to do that on the road, and like this Maryland team is no pushover. Like this is a solid, really good Maryland team. But for them to come out, throw the first punch, and keep the foot on the gas pedal. I mean, you had Singleton coming off the bench, scoring in double figures. You had a starter. I mean, it was just a fantastic overall team performance by the Bruins. They're going against Kentucky now. So what do you guys are seeing in this matchup?
I defer to you. You go first.
You want me to go?
Yeah.
I'll say this. I'm not high on Kentucky.
I'd agree with that.
I'm just not high on Kentucky. I don't think – I think they'll win some games. I just don't – I'm not as high as – for what people believe the perception was and the expectations was of this team coming off of last year, first round, all this pressure, I just don't see it with this team. I just think their parts, in my opinion – they don't fit as well as they've done in the past. I think Oscar Sheetway, obviously player of the year, a year ago, he'll put up the same numbers again. I just don't think the parts around them, they just don't fit. And they're not a great shooting team. It's like they got a Mitch and Max parts for situations. And that's a dangerous thing when you say, I got to play this lineup because I want shooting. All right, they're not the shooting. I need defense now. So now I got to go back with this group of guys. And then you just kind of rotating guys just to say, all right, sooner or later, somebody's going to make shots, outside shots. I don't know who that is. I love Wallace. I think he's a talented freshman. He's a go-getter, but he's a freshman. And when you got a lot of non-shooters and a lot of non-shot makers around you, that just shrinks the floor, puts a tremendous amount of pressure on him. I'm just not sold on Kentucky right now. And I haven't seen anything since to make me change my opinion. I would love to come in and be like, hey, I was wrong about them. They figured it out. And I hope maybe that day will come. But for me, it's not here yet.
Is there any, I feel like there's a little bit of the same UNC urgency of like, they need this a little more because with their best win right now is Michigan in London. That's not, a home run win. We don't know for sure if Michigan's a tournament team. What's that?
It was a battle too. It wasn't an easy win by any means. And Llewellyn got hurt in that game for Michigan.
Yeah, so
towards ACL, right?
Didn't roll over. Like before the Maryland game, UCLA was kind of in the same boat. They lost both games in Vegas. They had a couple of early Pac-12 wins, but they weren't really, big time top of the resume type stuff. Then they got one. I mean, nearly played a perfect game. They had 4 turnovers that entire game, despite Tiger Campbell barely playing in the first half. I don't know if they can play that well again, but they probably don't need to play that well to beat Kentucky right now because they're still like RC said, their lineups are so like if you play Reeves and Frederick together, okay, you have shooting, but you totally lose wing defense. And Oscar might not be fully 100% from that preseason knee operation. There are a lot of questions with them. I kind of think Kentucky back against the wall against fat and happy UCLA Mick Cronin teams are never fat and happy. That's probably not fair to say. But I think Kentucky needs this one a little bit more, the same way we said about Carolina.
I agree. I just don't like. It's like Toppin and Collins. I mean, there's not a lot of shooting around Oscar Tshiebwe that concerns me. Yeah. There's just not a lot. And Xavier Willard is a blur. He's a good player. If you're gonna have those two guys on the floor, then you got to have those other three spots got to be shooting, just to space it to be effective. And it's like a coin flip. I mean, Toppin's a good player now, but he's not a face-up stretch the floor. He's not a stretch forward. That's not what he does. He can make a shot, but I would have no problem going into a game saying, all right, let me see if you make it 2 or 3, 4 before I come out there. Collins the same. I mean, what does it look like? I mean, what is that supposed to look like? So now you're just dropping in the paint saying, all right, let him shoot a couple of shots, and if he makes it, then we'll go out there. You see teams playing. When we watched that Michigan State game, Megan, we were there. Mm-hmm. We were out there, and they were like, Tom Izzo was telling his guards on Xavier Willard, like, get in the paint, just back up. Literally just stand in the paint. Yeah. And so I don't think other teams are necessarily, going to do that. But it's just not a lot of room in the paint for those guys. There's just not a lot of perimeter shooting. And there'll be a game or two where they make a bunch of threes. And, they could be like, shut up, Randolph. You don't know what you're talking about. But I'm talking about consistency, night in and night out. I just don't see it with this team. I just don't. Not yet.
Do you feel like, I know I don't want to, like, Wheeler is a good player, but is their best version Kason Wallace on the ball at 1 and playing more bigger on the wing and having Wheeler off the floor? That's probably unfair to Wheeler, but
yeah, I mean, okay, if you do that, you got Wallace, you got maybe Reeves, right?
Yeah,
and Wallace can guard. He gets after, but what else? What other lineup? To me, it just seems like they're trying to figure out what's my best 5 right now. What's the most productive group? And I don't think let me say that. I don't think they figured that out yet. I don't know if Kentucky has found out what's my best 5 that defends and scores enough at a rate we need to do to be successful. I don't know if they got that lineup out there yet, or the players and the parts have been as consistent. Because Frederick can shoot it, but if he ain't making shots, who is he guarding?
Yeah, I'd say something similar about Gonzaga. Like, I think those are two teams that, like, we don't know our best 5 yet, and so they're just not the best versions of themselves yet. Maybe they'll find it, but I kind of doubt it'll happen immediately.
To that point, though, I do like Wheeler on the floor just because of his playmaking ability, and he can distribute. And to me, that's a key piece, and I think we saw that in that Michigan.
He's their second best player.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think you have to have him on the floor. You can't go big. I don't think at that expense, per se.
Yeah.
Going to be interesting. Gosh, we are so lucky. Talk about a Christmas gift. All those games on the same day. But perhaps, gentlemen, the greatest gift of all, Field of 68, we are broadcasting the Furman Stephen F. Austin game, the Greenville Invitational, Greenville, South Carolina. We've got our crew. We got John Fanta on play-by-play, Terrence Oglesby, our analyst, and then we got Rob Doster, sideline reporting down there.
Mr. Mayonnaise.
Yeah. The rogue unprofessional of the group.
Yeah, he's down in Greenville terrorizing the steakhouses, asking for mayo on top of his steak. The man must be stopped. But to that point, it's going to be a fun matchup to watch on Field of 68. Weirdest food preference that you gentlemen have? Rob Doster, just context for this, for the people watching, Rob Doster likes to put mayo on his steak. But to clarify, he likes to put it on the raw steak as kind of like a butter to kind of create a crust on the grill, says it's great. I think the word mayonnaise is disgusting, so I stay away from it at all costs.
I don't even believe it, Megan. I think he just said that to kind of just clean it up because everybody frowned at it when he said it. I think he uses it like A1 sauce and just spreads on his steak because that's just disgusting. I can't even imagine eating that.
Can we not? What's your weird food preferences?
All right, you know what? I don't have the weirdest food preference I have is in my household, for me in particular, cereal is dinner. And my favorite cereal is Fruity Pebbles. So I'll come home and my wife will cook sometimes, and I'll be like, I don't want that. I want Fruity Pebbles. I got 2 rules in my house and I've had for years. You can ask any recruit, any former player, anybody. I got 2 rules. Respect the women in my house, because my wife and my daughters were there, and I would always be like, hey, I don't care what goes on in here. You respect the women in my house. And my second rule in my house is don't eat my damn Fruity Pebbles. That's it. So that's my only 2 rules. If it's in there, if anything else in there, you eat it, you drink it, I don't give a damn. But you eat my Fruity Pebbles, and then you think I'm lying, you can ask my kids. I'm coming to the house and seeing my cereal open and being like, who in the hell ate my cereal? And their friends would be sitting there like, and they be thinking I'd be like, get your ass up, get out of here. Go, where's your parents? And I, end up messing with the kids and I leave them alone. But no, and I tell them, like, listen, don't eat that. Y'all eat all the cereal in here. So for me, it's cereal for dinner, and more specifically, it's Fruity Pebbles. Don't eat my damn Fruity Pebbles. I don't play that.
Oh my gosh, I'm a little scared of you.
Yes, that's my only rules.
Noted. I will not do that.
No, don't.
At the Childress household. Jim, don't eat the Fruity Pebbles.
Don't eat the damn
I won't.
Pebbles,
I knew we got along though, because I was debating between two different takes here. And my favorite dessert is cereal. I eat it for after dinner. That's what I'm having. It's not a breakfast food. It's a dessert for me. And then the other thing is something I don't like. I cannot eat a raw tomato. You don't put it on a sandwich. Don't put it in even like some salsas. They're too slimy. I don't like them. I'm out on raw tomatoes wherever they are.
Well, maybe my weird food preference is I eat raw tomatoes all the time. When I was little, I ate them like an apple. I love tomatoes. That's
making my skin crawl. That's vile.
They're good for you. But do you like ketchup?
It's fine. I don't have much of it.
I think ketchup's gross as well.
So you put mayonnaise on your steak too. Like that's what Rob, you've been hanging with Rob. Y'all got the same steak restaurant?
Wait, you had me? No one would put mayonnaise on my steak.
Ketchup is one or the other. You either mayonnaise or ketchup.
No, I'm an aioli guy. How about that? Give me chipotle mayonnaise. That's what I want. Give me a flavor to it.
Fair. You're bougie. You want an aioli, don't you?
Oh yeah. Feed me an aioli. That's sriracha aioli. That's what I want.
Yeah. Y'all are out of control.
You can't go to his house, Maggie. He's gonna be telling us, "Can you pass the Great Poupon? We get mustard for Great Poupon." Yeah.
It's caviar.
That's right. Oh yeah, caviar that's the hors d'oeuvre and cereal for dinner. That's
the man who has a 30-pack of Miller High Life.
29-pack.
All right, what's yours, Megan? I can't let you off the hook. What's yours?
My food preference, I don't know. I think it's pretty normal, I would say, but I'm a big like sauce condiment gal. So like if I'm like eating something like a burrito, for example, like I'm dousing hot sauce on that sucker. And I could literally go on an hour about the different hot sauces that one can use on certain foods, because I can't just name like a best hot sauce. It depends on the type, but I would just say like whatever like food I'm eating, if there's a sauce that accompanies it, like I want to just like flood the food in whatever sauce that might be.
So you do spicy stuff, I take it.
Oh, I want my
really
esophagus to burn.
Oh God.
Oh.
Yes. I mean, give me all
envy people that I cannot do it. I can't eat hot sauce.
Yep.
I got friends of mine, black friends of mine, that'll be like, "What, are you black? Like you can't eat hot sauce?" I can't eat hot sauce. My daughter is like you. It can be anything. Eggs. We go to get omelets. It's like hot sauce. There. I'm like, I can't do hot sauce. Spicy, none of that.
Tabasco on eggs is just
oh my God.
So good. That's a little like fire to you. You know, you got to wake yourself up a little bit. I go hot sauce.
Can't do it. I wish I could. I can't do it.
Yep.
Well, I feel like we all got closer after that exercise. Learning a lot. Did we all just become best friends?
That's right. Hey, Jim, I got to know, man, what's your favorite cereal, man? You didn't mention which kind of cereal you like.
I think if it came down to it, it's Cinnamon Toast Crunch. That'd be number one for me.
Okay.
Mainly because the milk afterwards is just all time.
Okay, but wait, that's actually the big question, and this will be the last one before I let y'all off the hook. Do you drink the milk after the cereal's gone?
What?
It's the biggest treat. It's like I'm craving that part of it. That's it. Look at her. The milk is it's one of the best parts. Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
The best part of the cereal is the milk. After all the milk done turn colors or the flavor of the cereal. Megan, you're missing out. I'm telling you, it's better than the hot sauce. It's better than the hot sauce.
Because I'm going savory over sweet any day.
Oh, man.
Give me the hot sauce over
No.
the Fruity Pebble milk.
Oh,
No,
love
it's the
it.
best.
But I will say there are some ice cream flavors that are like inspired by the milk after cereal.
Oh, yeah.
So you guys are not weird by any means. It's just like it's not my cup of tea.
It's all right.
Yeah, you'll
So,
get there
yeah.
We all
someday.
got our thing.
Yeah.
All
Jim,
right,
we just
gentlemen.
got closer, man. We just got close. I feel connected with you already, man. It's
I
been
feel
too long.
closer.
I gotta tell Jeff and them they gotta get you back on, man. This once a month thing you're on right now, whatever's going on, ain't enough, man. We gotta get you back.
Absolutely.
Hey, what's the number one game that people should be betting on tomorrow? If they want to
help us out.
Ooh, man. Well, I do think UNC is a great bet, and I love that RC is in my corner on that one.
Hey, go through the games that we did tonight, and what would you pick tomorrow? Out of all the best games you picked tonight, who are you betting on? I mean, I'm not betting, but who are you betting?
North Carolina are the biggest ones, or Arizona. I just love that spot for Arizona. The revenge home. I think the line's a little low, so one of those two.
Are you wearing a Carolina blue shirt under your sweatshirt on purpose?
No, it's Atletico Madrid, but that's fine.
Details.
Yeah.
We got good games tomorrow. Jim Root says bet on Carolina. RC's on the Carolina train as well. There you have it. Field of 68 after dark. Randolph Childress, Jim Root, Meghan McKeown. We will see you next